W keying is one of the most important skills to have in Fortnite, especially if you need that catch-up game in the Solo Victory Cup or if you just want to have some fun in Ranked. So in this video, I'm going to be VOD reviewing the EUFNCS winner Vico's 30 kill win in Solo Victory Cup Opens last week, so hopefully you can learn some tips from him and implement them into your own solo games. So, I'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe, and without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off, Vico drops at the Raft, which is probably the best POI on the map to W key from. Its main advantage is the scan medal, which scans the area around you for enemies every minute or so, and basically gives you wall hacks on them. This means it's really good for both fighting and also for finding other players to fight who may be hiding. Also, the mythic burst AR from the boss at Raft is ridiculously OP, doing 37 to the body and 55 to the head, which makes it really good to open fights with. Initially, Vico lands on a Doom chest, which he knows guarantees him 2 guns of blue rarity and above. Doom chests are probably the better variant of chests to land on now, instead of Avengers chests, following the removal of jetpacks from comp. Something Vico does off spawn, which is really important, is getting to 100-100 before even trying to fight anyone. This reduces the risk of losing any 50-50s he may have to take. It ends up being really lucky that he got to 100-100 early, because this player comes towards him and starts fighting him. He immediately makes space when he's hit, heals up a bit, then when he goes to open the peak, he ensures he isn't opening up straight into the opponent. He opens this edit to the right of him, then steps into it to shoot. He moves left and does the exact same thing again to clean up the kill. This first fight here is a really good example of why good peaks are integral. After this fight, he heavily prioritises going for the boss before even trying to fight anyone else. Here he gets hit for almost all of his shields, so has to disengage to heal. To start off here, he makes a terrible peak, but one that he had to because he had no builds, and he has to take this 50-50 here because he has no mats. Personally, I wouldn't have pushed this fight here knowing I had no mats, so it's really important that you check your mats before pushing into any fights. He uses a fizz pad to rotate here, which is probably the best rotation there is around the map currently, so if you have a fizz and go past a pad, always use it. He spots this player here trying to fish, which 9 times out of 10 is an indication that this player isn't very good. As well as being able to fight well, an important aspect of keying is knowing who to fight. Vico chose this fight very well, because this player didn't even try to build when he got shot. Since Vico's in the dash biome, he gets some dashes before rotating out, which is something you should always do if you have the opportunity, because you never know when they might come in handy. He may have also chosen to land here, because he knew there was a pad that he could fizz pad with, which emphasises the importance of knowing the map and where permanent rotation is when you're trying to W key. He opens this fight here with a beam, which is something you should always try to do before fighting. Any damage you can do with your AR from a distance will give you a massive advantage when actually fighting, both because of the damage dealt to the player and the knock to the other player's confidence when fighting. This is then easily cleared up with his shotgun. Here, he uses the dashes he got earlier to outsmart the other player when they didn't expect it, because they're not in the dash area of the map. Vico just takes this build fight here, not overbuilding, just following the opponent up and waits for opportunities where the other player messes up and doesn't block an angle, so he can easily shoot them. Once again, this fight is opened up with some chip damage. Sliding down backwards rotated ramps is a really good way to get somewhere quickly from an elevated position, and this allows Vico to reach the enemy much more quickly than he would have done otherwise. Instead of build fighting this player, Vico opts to simply just knock him out, because this is often a much simpler and easier option, and means the opponent may just die to fall damage. Even though he doesn't die to fall, Vico does catch him while falling, and it's incredibly difficult to block shots when you're falling. To rotate here, Vico uses the Nitro ring with Fizz, which is still really OP, even though the rings don't give the Nitro effect anymore. He sees this player here boxed up in 3rd zone, and if a player's boxed up this early, it's usually a sign that they're not very good, meaning they're most likely a pretty easy kill. Once again, he deals chip damage before fighting, and he knows that the other player isn't very skilled, so he's probably okay to double swing. However, I wouldn't recommend double swinging in any situation. He then knows he can probably take a pretty open angle, because once again, the player isn't very good. Someone else tries to key him here, but Vico opens the wall on the other player before he gets to the wall, and manages to crack him, as he was likely going to pickaxe the wall and wait for Vico to open. He doesn't open any wide peaks in this fight, and manages to drop the other player down from on top of one of his cones, a play many won't expect, so can be made without much risk. It's pretty easy to guess that there's a player in this bush here, due to the loot suspiciously just sitting outside of it. When the fight starts, Vico places a cone on the floor to the player's left. This is the direction most players will go when build fighting or boxing for some reason, which blocks the player from being able to ramp up. He approaches this box on a diagonal with a right hand peek, as this provides him with a massive peek advantage, When aggressing the wall, he only swings on it once, then immediately builds another wall. When this player places a ramp here, Vico knows he's going up, so immediately builds a wall to prevent the enemy from building one themselves, allowing Vico to crack them. Vico then just approaches from the only angle he can go from, and knows he can take the 50-50 because of his massive health advantage. Something to note about Vico's gameplay is the fact that he's constantly checking bushes for players, because he knows that anyone hiding in a bush is likely not the best, so it'll be an easy kill. He also checks right along the edge of congested side, because it means he can find players coming in from storm who may be low, and the storm forces players to push towards Vico. If you know you're not as good at fighting, I'd avoid congested side though, because it does increase your chance of being third partied. Vico actually finds a player in a bush here, and quickly cleans him up. He pushes this fight because he knows that this player has just finished fighting, so is likely to be low. The wood builds are really easy to replace as well, allowing Vico to take this wall and get the opponent down to 60 HP. He gets caught swinging at a bad angle here. It's fine because the other player was low, but it would have been better if Vico had approached this box on a right hand peek while covered. The scan medal tells Vico this player is in a bush, so Vico can just full box and 50-50 him. This isn't something I'd recommend most players do, but Vico's so confident in his aim that it's something he feels comfortable doing. He then just drops down from an unexpected angle and cleans up the kill while the enemy is facing in the other direction. He sees there's a player on the island and decides to key them, but when landing on the player, he decides to land to the side of them rather than directly on top of them. This is because if he'd landed in the base, he would have taken much more than 20 damage from the opponent's shotgun. Luckily for Vico, the opponent cones themselves, and he can take the wall and get an 80 tag. Even when he full boxes and almost kills them, Vico doesn't take the 50-50 in case he takes any unnecessary damage. He then uses the upgrade bench on the island, something that many players don't know is there. Plus, it's the only one that isn't in a bunker. He then uses the fizz pad off island, which is something you should be doing instead of rifting, since it actually takes you higher than a rift, so Vico can cover more distance here. Vico drops from where these players are already fighting, so they're pretty much unaware of his presence. Here he creates distance by building an extra box to avoid having to 50-50, and gets dashes from the dash water. Vico knows he's getting keyed by this other player, because he keeps his awareness up, which just emphasises the importance of paying attention to visual sound effects. He once again catches the player off guard by editing them down on a cone, which shows just how few players expect this play, so it's something you should definitely be trying to implement into your own games. He's then just happy to spray in and take a straight 50-50 because the other player is low. Vico makes a concerted effort in his gameplay to ensure he has dashes almost all of the time when he can, which pays off here because he manages to get above the player and tag him. Something Vico does really well is finding opportunities where players haven't managed to block off angles yet to get big damage off to give him the advantage in fights. Here he doesn't edit this cone instantly, making sure he's behind the right hand peak before editing so he doesn't take any damage he doesn't need to. To start off this fight, Vico gets this player to 40 HP. He's confident 50-50ing with the burst here, because the other player is standing still. He knows he's got good aim, and the mythic burst will outdamage basically any other weapon in the game at this distance. Then the dash means he catches the opponent completely off guard, but instead of just instantly shooting him, Vico ensures he gets all the piece, so the other player can't block him from shooting. Here, Vico has a choice of who to fight, and chooses to fight the player coming in from zone, because he's much more likely to be panicking, and he actually has to move towards Vico, which means he's able to get some damage on the enemy before starting the fight. He can then easily just get the kill by taking the wall while the other player isn't expecting it. He makes sure he's approaching the wall on a right hand peek though, so it's much harder for the opponent to deal any damage. He starts off this fight with some damage, and then he knows he can take this wall when the other player isn't expecting it, because he just reset it. This means it's really weak, so it's one shot to basically any gun. If someone you're fighting resets a build that you can take, you should always do so, because many players won't expect you to take the wall so quickly. As the opponent isn't expecting Vico to get the wall, he can make a pretty wide edit and easily get the kill. This player is clearly somebody Vico should key, because he's hiding behind a rock then building in wood. Here, he knows the other guy's going to edit the floor, so he takes the cone on top of the box and the tile in the middle, and then manages to get a shot off. Then he quickly blocks the opponent's shot with a wall. He makes a mistake here by making a wide edit while standing directly in front of it, allowing the other player to hit him for almost all of his shield. If I was in his position, I probably would have gone for one of the walls on the side of the box, as it's very difficult to win a box fight while fighting from the top down. When Vico goes to take the wall, he actually grabs the wall and the ramp at once, something that's almost never expected by other players and isn't that difficult to do. When he makes this peek here, he swings left to make sure he's behind the wall and has a right hand peek on the opponent to take this shot from, making it difficult for the other player to shoot back. He can then take a wide peek because he has such a massive health advantage. Throughout the game, he keeps checking bushes and finds a player here. This player is only held up by a couple walls, so he just knocks the whole box out, which is a play most opponents won't expect you to make, and works really well, especially if you do what Vico does here and place your own wall and cone beneath to stop the other player from blocking your shots. You can then see where the player is going and full box him to finish the fight. Vico almost always looks from the edge of zone for his kills, and likes to third party other fights to catch players when they're low, which he manages to do here. He knows this player is low because he's trying to pop minis, so just jumps in to kill him with one shotgun shot. This player full armor boxes when Vico approaches, so he just knocks him out from below. This is much easier than trying to break the armoured walls themselves, because they just break along with the rest of the builds. Vico ensures he's taking all the walls below the opponent and the cone underneath, so when he falls, he can't do anything to stop Vico from shooting him. This is a perfect example of how to knock someone out effectively. The other player is really lucky at dashes here, and it's clear to Vico that this player is going to keep running, so he moves to find someone else who won't take so long to kill, to maximise how many kills he gets this game. Here he makes a really interesting play. If you look in the right position and there are no builds between you and the other player's box, you can actually get a cone in the bottom of their box. He's also once again approaching the wall on a right hand peek. As soon as he realises the other player's in the cone, he knows he's going to try and edit down, so immediately full boxes below the box. All players will try to do this when caught inside a cone, which means Vico can crack him and then just full box him to easily get the kill. He opens this fight with an AR crack, then shoots with a shotgun to stop the heal. This is a really good example of something Vico's really good at, and that's keeping pressure upon opponents when they're trying to heal. The opponent tries to full armoured box, but misses the floor. Most players when full armoured boxing won't armour the floor, so they have a way to get out. But Vico knows this, so just takes the floor and edits the other player out. Instead of immediately shooting, Vico places a wall and edits it, to reduce the chance of the other player managing to shoot back. Here, he knows the other guy's going to try to shoot him, so places a ramp to block the shot. But first he actually gets a ramp in his box, because there's no piece in the middle tile. He can then shoot the weak wall out, because it's just been reset, then shoot the opponent with his shotgun when he's facing the other direction and not expecting it to clean up the kill there and then. So, the final 1v1. This is arguably the hardest part of a Fortnite game, but Vico plays it basically perfectly. Even now, he's getting chip damage with his AR before trying to fight the other player. He utilises Fizz here to jump higher than the opponent and cone him while he's trying to get height and crack him. Many players don't realise just how important Fizz can be in helping you to win build fights. It just gives you the extra edge over the other player. He can then just go into zone to get the kill when the other guy is beneath the ramp. He won't have blocked that angle where zone is because he won't have expected Vico to go into zone and shoot him. So, that's the 30 kill win from Vico. Looking at his fighting, there's no surprise he managed to win EU FNCS. And honestly, he's one of the best players to watch more of if you want to improve your fighting ability. I hope you've managed to take something from this video to improve your W keying solos. I'd really appreciate it if you could like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
100 full box. Oh. Boom, boom, give me the box. Full box 200.